My name is Anshul. I am a coder. Also, I happen to be the founder of Camp K12, and I love to code and I love to teach others to code. And that's why I'm here doing this webinar with all of you. At the end of this session, I'll tell you more about my journey, and I'll talk a little bit with your parents as well about how coding really changed my life. And even something like game development, making video games, changed my life. I used to make video games in high school every day, and it really changed the way I think and how I performed in my school subjects as well. And I'll tell your parents more about that. Really nice to meet all of you today. We have grade 4 through 9. I think we had one grade 9 student. And without further ado, let me share a link with you guys. I hope you're all on your laptops. If you're on your phone, please rejoin from your laptop, because for the coding part of this, you will need to be on your laptop, okay? And then when you show your app and your video game to your friends and your parents, you can do that on a phone, you can do that on iPad, you can do that on anything, right? So I'm going to share a link with all of you, and then I'm going to start sharing my screen with all of you. Actually, let me share my screen first, okay? I'm going to share my screen, and then I'll share a link with you, and then you're going to make it. So let me go ahead and set up my screen share. Thumbs up if you can see my screen. Good, good. You guys can see my screen. Guys, this is a world, a 3D world, okay? I'm moving around in the 3D world, okay? Look at this. Here's my 3D world. Let me just move around in it. I'll reorient my camera. Okay, here it is. Moving up, moving left. Okay, so here's my world. Here's a spaceship. You guys see this? It's a spaceship. And here I have buildings, it seems like. I have buildings, I have a ground. I can change this ground if I want to. I can make the ground taller or less tall just by toggling the side here, the height. Here we go, look at that. You guys like that? More hilly terrain, less hilly terrain. Okay, for now we'll keep it less hilly. When you guys make it, you can customize your terrain for the game. What I'm gonna teach you guys today is how to make a 3D spaceship game where you can move your spaceship with the keyboard keys on your system. So when you press a letter, like let's say U, to go up, it will move up. When you press a letter D to go down, the spaceship will move down. So when you send that game that you make to any friend, when they press U, it'll move up. When they press D, it'll move down. And then at the end of the session, I'm going to show you how you can take that same concept that we learned today and extend it to make a proper shooting game like you play in the arcade that you go to in a mall, or you must have played shooting games where a spaceship moves around and fires bullets, and those bullets collide with the other spaceships. There are asteroids around you, there are planets around you, you're in outer space, yeah? Today is just an introductory course into making a proper spaceship shooting game that your friends can play, that you can play, your parents can play. And I love this project because it really teaches the fundamentals of coding. Because what is coding? Coding is ultimately mathematics, it's logic, it's physics sometimes, it's problem solving. And in order to make our spaceship move, we are going to learn about a coding concept called if statements or conditional statements. Okay, I'll wait and I won't introduce you to that yet. I will share a link with you. I'm going to send you this template that I have created for you. So I want everyone to go to the link that I have just sent in the chat thread, hatchxr.com. You should be able to just click it from Zoom or copy paste it. I want you guys to use your web browser, preferably Google Chrome. And I want you to click this link or enter it into Google Chrome, and you will see what I am seeing as well. A 3D environment with a spaceship that already exists, with a ground that already exists, with some buildings that already exist, and a starry sky. If you have any questions and you need help, you can message on the chat thread. But the first step is very simple. It's just take that link I sent you and everybody open it. Okay? Now, before we start coding, here's the cool thing. This is your game. It's your video game. Guys, thumbs up if you got it to open. I just want to make sure that you guys are getting the link to open. Okay, good. This is the very first step. Guys, this is your video game. So you can change this world completely if you want. I can go to the right. Okay, notice on the left side, you see that there is a ground. there is a ship, there is buildings. If you click ground, you'll notice you can change things. You can change the color of the ground. I'm going to make it, wow, random. That's a random color. I can make it magenta. Oh, wow, that's still too strong. But it's kind of cool. I like that. Let me change the other color also. Let me make that bluish. Oh man, that's pretty cool. Okay, here's my pink and blue ground, and I can make it whatever I want. I can change the, for example, the grid that's drawn here. I can make it be crosses. I can make it be dots. I can make it be Y lines. I can make it, yeah, here it is. I'll leave it like that, okay? That's my ground. You can customize. So the way this video game platform works is when you have an object in the scene, on the right side, you can customize its design properties. And you notice in this platform, you have three things. I want everyone to pay attention here. Everybody, this is very important. To make our video game, we need to know this platform allows three things. Number one is it allows us to design. You see at the top, design is currently selected. I'll zoom in a little bit. There it is. This is design. It also allows us to code. It also allows us to play. What happens if I play, guys? If I play, whatever I have created is visible to me the same way that my friends or my family members who play my game will see it. So right now, what do you guys see? It's a ground with buildings. You can look around. It's completely 3D. I can even look behind me. I can look in front of me, and I'm playing my own game. I can play this on a phone. I can play it on a laptop, anything. I have my ship, but I can't do anything with my ship yet. If I press my arrow keys, nothing happens. I'm actually trying it right now. I'm pressing my arrow keys and nothing happens because we have to write some code. Coding is giving instructions to computers to teach them to do something. So we are going to write some code to make the spaceship move based on our arrow keys. That is the goal of play. And very importantly, to publish our own game so that every friend of yours can play your own game. All right. So now that we know what play is, what design is, let's check out code. So I'm going to click on code, and I want you guys to also click on code. So when you go here, you guys will see some gibberish written over here, right? How many of you have coded before? Raise your hand if you have done coding before. Anybody? Raise your hand if you've done coding before. Yes, Yashna has done coding. We have Sandeep. I don't think your name is Sandeep, but it might be your dad's name. Jeshta has done coding. Alekia has done coding. Good. So several people have done coding before. You can put your hands down. Now I want you to raise your hand if you have done coding with a programming language called JavaScript. How many of you have done programming with blocks, visual blocks? Raise your hand if you've done visual blocks. MIT Scratch, App Inventor, Thunkable, Hatch also has blocks. Good, put your hands down. So guys, coding can be done in many languages. Blocks-based coding is typically how we start teaching because it's a very visual way of doing coding. You drag and drop a block. But as you become more advanced and as you learn to make video games, you will learn, in fact, not just video games, but let's say you want to make a mobile app or you want to make a website for your family or for your friends or for yourself. You will start graduating from the blocks-based programming onto more advanced programming languages. Now, there are two very popular programming languages today. One of them is JavaScript. It is a universal programming language of the internet, which means everything on the internet is built with JavaScript. And the second popular programming language today is a language called Python, which is used a lot in AI applications, machine learning kind of applications. Today, because we're building something for the internet, a game that can be played by other people on the internet, we are using the JavaScript programming language. So this gibberish, as we called it, is actually code in the JavaScript programming language. And step by step today, I'm going to teach you JavaScript, the basics of it. And I'm also going to teach you how to do motion and animation of your spaceship using what we call if statements. If you have done Scratch, if you have done any of those blocks-based programming platforms, you know what an if statement is. It's a very common building block of programming. So here we are. Very first thing I want to teach you guys is about X and Y and Z. So I want you guys to tell me in your math class, have you learned about X-axis and Y-axis? Raise your hand if you have not learned about X-axis and Y-axis in math class. If you have not, okay, some people have not yet learned about X and Y in math class, and that is perfectly fine. You can put your hands down. I know we have some 4th graders here. We have some maybe 3rd graders. Okay. Amit has learned, but has some questions about it. Kushagra has made many games. That's awesome. Oh, Kushagra, you send me a private message. That's good. You can tell your friends as well as a public message. So guys, X-axis, Y-axis, the best way I can teach you is by going into design mode, okay? When you go to design mode and you guys see that you select your spaceship, okay? Everybody select the spaceship. What do you see is this green arrow here. Oops, here it is. The green arrow, this green arrow says Y. The red arrow says X, and the blue arrow, which you can't see, says Z, okay? What is this? This refers to the space, the 3D space that I have. It refers to what you call the position of the object in that 3D space. So the Y is actually the Y position of the spaceship in the 3D space. If I click it and I drag it, the Y position is changing. If you guys look over here, where my cursor is, X, Y, Z, the Y position is changing as I move my spaceship. I'm going to select it again, I move it down. So who can tell me what is the Y position of the spaceship right now? Type it into the chat then. What is the Y position of the spaceship right now? Hint, it says right here. It says right here on the side, right here. What does it say? Can anyone read that? What is the Y position of the spaceship? You can type it, guys. I will answer it. It's about 20.01, right? It's 20. Approximately it's 20. Now, what if I make it 25, guys? 25. If I make it 25, it goes up, right? Now it's 25. It goes up. What if I make it 15? It goes down. So what is the Y position? The Y position is the up and down position. What is the left and right position of the spaceship? Can anyone guess? What does this red arrow say? Sorry, this one. Yes. Alekia, you can chat it on the side here. Alekia knows. What is the X? Yeah, X means what? What does it do? So if Y is the top and bottom position, up and down position, the X position is the left and right position. Exactly. Yes. So the X is the left and right, the Y is the up and down. In order to move our spaceship up and down, what do we need to change? We need to change the Y position. Everyone clear on that? We need to change the Y position to make the spaceship move up and down. In order to make the spaceship move left and right, we need to change the X position. So now let's learn how coding allows us to do that. So ship.setY is the function that allows you to set the Y position of the spaceship to a number that you tell it. So you know how I said 20? Here it is. This means set the Y position to 20. This means set the Y position to 25. This means set the Y position to 50. What happens if I set the Y position to 50? I want you guys to see what happens when I run my script. Okay, when I run my script. Run. There it is. It just went down. It's right there. Now let me make it 25. Let me run my script. Oh, it went up. And earlier it was at 20, approximate, right? It was here. Good. So now we know how to set the position of a 3D spaceship in a 3D world using code. What do we need here, guys? We just need one line. Ship.setY 20. Okay, so the basic format in JavaScript is you take your object, ship, again, I'll type it for you, ship, and then you say dot to represent that you are now going to do a function on that ship or one of the behaviors of that ship, which is to set the Y position, set Y. And then guys, when we use JavaScript, when you want to give a number to the function, when you want to give an input to a function, I'll tell you what a function is a little later. When you want to give an input to a function, you use these brackets. Whenever you have an opening bracket, you have to have a closing bracket. Okay, you might be seeing me in mirror image, so I'll do opening bracket, closing bracket. So guys, I do opening bracket, which is this, and then the closing bracket already appears because the platform is intelligent enough to close it for you. And when you end a line in JavaScript, you put a semicolon on your keyboard, you will find it. It's a semicolon. You'll find it next to the L. It's after the L on the keyboard. It's a semicolon. What does this tell the computer? It tells the computer that this line is done. I'm done with this line of instructions to the computer. And now we can go to the next line. And then you hit the next line and you type it. So If you guys, I'll give you a challenge problem. How do you move the spaceship along the left and right? And I'll do it with you as I challenge you. I'll also code it with you. So ship dot set X this time, rather than set Y, is going to move the spaceship along the X and along the left and right direction. Right now, the X position of the ship is 0, 0. If I want to move it left, I make it negative. If I want to make it right, if I want to move it right, I make it positive. So set X 5. What is that going to do? Maybe it's too much. I'm just going to say 2. Okay. Now, if I say set X 2, I'm expecting my spaceship to move to the right by 2 meters. 1 meter, 2 meters. Let's run this script and see what happens. Boom, it moved to the right. Let's make it 4. Oh, it moved more. So our code is working, okay? Our code is working. And if I go into play mode, I'm going to see that same thing happen, which is my ship moves to the right. There it is. My ship has moved to the right. It's not centered anymore because I have said ship.setX 4. Now, you've just learned what is called commands in programming. These are basic commands. Each line here represents one command that you're giving the computer. You're saying, take the ship, which is here. I mean, you have a ship, guys. Everyone, why do we say ship? We say ship because here it's called ship. You see on my design mode, it's called ship. If it were called something else, if it were called mango, or if it were called one of you, if it was called one of your names, like let's say if it were called Sandeep, if it was called Alekhya, if the ship was called Alekhya, then in the code, you would not write ship, you would actually say Alekhya, okay? In programming, when you are telling the computer to do something, you have to refer to the object by which it is named. In this case, the ship is named ship, which is why we're saying ship.setY, ship.setX, okay? So now you've learned that there are objects which you can name, and we have named it from the design mode as ship. It was already done for you in the template. Now you have learned to set its positions. These are commands. The main goal for today, guys, is to learn a feature of programming languages. It's in every programming language called if statements. Okay, an if statement. I'll tell you how to think about an if statement. An if statement that we're going to write, a logic that we're going to write today, is if the U letter on the keyboard is pressed, then move the spaceship up. If the D letter on the keyboard is pressed, then move the letter down. An if statement allows us to tell the computer to do something such as moving the spaceship only in a very specific situation. Do you want the spaceship to go up always? No. Do you want the spaceship to go up no matter what key I hit? No. You only want it to go up if I hit the up key, and I get to decide what is the up key. You only want the spaceship to go down if I hit the down key, and I get to decide what is the down key. An if statement is like in English, you would say, hey, if your parents might tell you, hey, if you get 100% marks on your exam, then I will take you to watch a movie, or then I will buy for you a laptop, or then I will buy for you a video game. If you get 100% in your exams, then I will buy this laptop for you, right? Hopefully, they don't set the bar at 100% in the exam, because then it's very hard to get the laptop. But you get the logic of an if statement. It happens even in our normal life. So when you want to tell a computer to do something only in a certain case, you have to use this concept called if statement. In programming, so you see here, guys, this is a, let me now talk about what functions are. You see here this word called function, okay? What I have just selected, this is a function. And a function is a block of code that achieves some task that you coded to achieve. It could be for any. A function is just a block of code that runs together from start to end. We are going to write a function that checks if the keyboard key for our up arrow key or our U key is pressed, then move the spaceship up. And that same function will check if the down arrow key is pressed or the D key is pressed, then move the spaceship down. So I'm going to put, you see the bracket here, the bracket, opening bracket, closing bracket. And you see this is called a comment. The comment means the computer ignores it. It's only for you and I. We talk to each other in comments. The computer skips it. When you want to do a comment, you put a double slash. This is a comment. The computer ignores this, okay? This is a comment, the computer ignores this. Here we go. So when you want to put some logic, you put it between the opening bracket and the closing bracket. So between line 5 and line 7, this is line 5, this is line 7. I'm going to put an if statement, okay? This is an if statement. It takes if, the word if, it takes an opening bracket, closing bracket, and then it takes, just like the function takes this other kind of curly bracket and both curly brackets. An if statement always has this kind of form. If something, then do this, okay? If this is happening, then do this. That's the logic. Now, something is not a word in programming. It's just me telling you in English. If something is true, then do whatever is here, okay? That is a format of an if statement. Before I can show you guys how to move the spaceship, I need to teach you a little bit about how to figure out from the computer which key is being pressed, okay? In this platform called Hatch, the way you do that is you just do if event dot key equal to, and I'll explain this after I type it, U. What does this mean? In English, what I've just written is if the player presses the U key on the keyboard. I could have said anything. If the player presses, you guys sometimes use the WASD controls, right, on your keyboard. W means up. I could have said if the player presses W, then move up, right? Then move up, okay? Similarly, I could have said if event.key equal to some other random key. I could have said B, the letter B, then the player move up. You are the programmer. You get to decide what are the rules of your game. I'm going to say W is the up key, and I'm going to say S is the down key, okay? If the W key is pressed, or if the S key is pressed, then move down. What I'm doing right now is I'm setting up my code. I haven't actually told the code to do anything if the W key is pressed or the S key is pressed. So again, you tell the computer whether it's W or S or any keys you want. We are going to write the logic after this of what happens in this case. Very important, you have to have two equal to signs here, not one equal to sign, okay? I'll tell you why. Some of you attended the last webinar on coding that Niharika ma'am did. Niharika ma'am taught you about variables. She taught you that you can do var something score equals 0, right? It could be any variable. The equal to sign here is just a single equal to sign. Why? Because a single equal to sign means you're assigning a value to a variable. So score equals 0 means you take 0, you put it inside score. The double equal to sign does not mean you're assigning a value. It means you're checking a value. A single equal to sign means you're assigning a value, meaning you're putting that value in that data, in that variable. A double equal to sign means you're checking the value. You're not assigning, you're checking it. It's very important, guys, because what you're doing here is you're checking, hey, is the key that's being pressed in the keyboard right now equal to W? You're not saying, hey, make the key be pressed that's being pressed equal to W. You can't tell the keyboard which key is pressed, but you can check if the W key is pressed. You can check if the S key is pressed. That's why you have a double equal to here. In JavaScript and in many programming languages, the way you check something, the way you check whether something is equal to something is with a double equal to sign. And the way you assign something and update its value is with an equal to sign. Single equal to versus double equal to. And it goes hand in hand with learning how if statements work. Because if statements take a logical expression, and that expression has to be of this form, where this is a true or false expression. Is the key that's being pressed right now W? Is that true or is that false? If it's false, then I will not do what's inside of this. If it's true, then I will do what's inside of this. You guys know about if statements from your Scratch programming. Those of you who've never done programming before, very fundamental concept, not difficult. So guys, let me hit run and nothing will happen, okay? Nothing will happen, I'll show you. So our ship moves to the right a little bit. Okay, that's because I put line number 3, set X to 4. But now when I hit the W key and the S key, nothing's happening. I'm actually pressing it right now, nothing's happening. Why? Because guys, we now need to change the position of the ship. We need to change the position of the ship when that if statement is true, right? Now you know that to change the position of a ship, you have to use set Y or set X. So guys, we are going to use the set X. Why? Because to move it left and right, you need to set X. To move it up and down, you need to use Y. So if I want to do left and right, guys, I'm actually going to change this to using the A key and the D key. Okay. Then move the left and move it right. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Why? Because if you look at your keyboard, A is left, D is right. If you look at your keyboard, the letter A comes to the left, letter D comes to the right. And I'm going to say, if someone presses A, move it left. If someone presses D, move it right. To move the ship left, we have to do ship.setX to something, right? We don't know what yet. Ship.setX to something. We have to change the X position of the ship in order to move it left or to move it right. This one moves it right. This one moves it left. Again, this is a comment. The computer will ignore it. What goes inside this? Guys, if I set X to 5, then why don't I show you what happens, okay? Right now, let's set X to 0, okay? By default, the ship is at 0. If I set X to 5, let's see what happens. If I set X here to -5, let's see what happens, okay? Let's try it out. I'm going to run the script. If the D key is pressed, we set to 5. Boom. Oops. The D key was should have been the other way around. Do you see what happened? It went the opposite way. So I'm going to change this. A is the left key, so that should be -5, and D is the right key, which should be 5. So what just happened? I pressed the letter A, and it moved left. I pressed the letter D, and it moved right. Can you guys see it? A, D, A, D, A, D. Are you guys seeing it move? A, D. I'm just pressing it again and again. But that's not what I want. I want it to move a little bit more to the left each time I press A. I want it to move a little bit more to the right each time I press D, because in a video game, you don't just have 2 different positions. You have any position you can be in. And if you have a ship, like if this phone is my ship, you guys see my phone, then I want to keep moving it left if I'm pressing A. I want to keep moving it right if I'm pressing D, which means I can't just set it to a position that is hard-coded, which is the word for if I put a particular number here, then it'll always go to 5. I wanted to, instead of going to 5 directly, I wanted to just move a little bit from where it is right now. So what I need to do is find out where is it right now and then move it a little bit more. Okay, so let's actually do this. In order to figure out where it is right now, I can do this. I can just ship.getX, which tells me where the ship is right now, +1. And here I can say ship.getX -1. Okay, I'm actually going to remove all this extra space for you. Now in English, this reads as, when the left arrow key is pressed, move the ship left by 1 meter by setting the X position of the ship to the current X position -1. If the right key is pressed, represented by the letter D, then set the ship's X position to the current position +1. If I run this script, let's try it. D, there it is. I am now moving my video game. You see that? I can go as far as I want. Oops, it vanished. It's still going. Come back. I'm pressing D to bring it back. Why don't I give you guys a minute to code this, and I will leave my screen shared. I want you to chat if you have any questions. Very important here. This is the fundamental concept of today. You have an if statement. I will also share it with you. Once you have figured it out, raise your hand once you have your ship moving. Raise your hand if you figured this one out. Raise your hand if you can figure it out. And I'm going to unmute some people. I'm going to unmute some people who want to ask a question. So I think Alicia wants to ask a question and Ayushi wants to ask a question. So let me find you guys and unmute you. Okay, Ayushi, I've unmuted you. You can go ahead and ask your question. I've asked you to unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, can I just screen share? This is not working. I don't know why. Since I've done my way, like up down I wanted to do, so I tried to do it. But it's showing uncaught syntax error at line 8, unexpected token.
Okay.
Can I just share, please?
I know what your issue would be. This is a very common situation. This is happening because you are opening brackets do not have a closing bracket that is along with it. So for example, you might have put this bracket, but you forgot to put this bracket, or you put this bracket, or you forgot to put
that.
Yeah.
Sir, let me just copy the code and I'll just send it.
Don't worry about sending it right now.
I sent it.
You sent it? Okay. Don't worry. I won't be able to help you privately. Let me see if I can figure it out just from looking at this. Yeah, I can tell what's wrong. So you're using the wrong bracket. This has to be a curly bracket. Okay? I deleted my own code.
I don't get curly bracket.
Oh, you have to press shift and then press the bracket key on your keyboard.
Like that.
Yeah, like that.
That
exactly.
I tried. I used to try. I have made these curls only by trying with the shift with that, or else it gives a number.
It's giving you a number. You should ask your mom or dad. I'm sure they can tell you which is the bracket.
My father is an engineer. I'll go ask him.
Yeah, because they're physically with you and they can show you on the keyboard how to press the bracket. Okay. Good. So let me mute you again, Ayushi. Okay, good. So guys, what I'm going to do to help you out is I'm going to share my code with you and I'll share my project with you and you can actually run the project. So what I'm doing now, guys, is I'm going to remix. If you can see my screen, I'm going to remix my project. Remix anonymously means I don't have to create an account. I don't have to log in and I can share it. So I'm going to say finished spaceship code and great job today in class, and I'm going to remix it. Now what this does is it generates a private link for me, my very own website where anyone can play this game that we've just built together. So you see this link, I can send this to all of you where you can play it, but I actually want you to be able to see my code. So what I'm going to do now is ignore this QR code. We can run it some other time. I'm going to share the new link that got generated with all of you in Zoom. I've just sent you guys the finished code. This one has my code. So if you were not able to figure out how to write this code, you can look at the code that I shared with you. All right. Now, guys, as I promised you, we are going to show the game to our parents. So I want you guys to first run this code, take a moment and run this code, click it, and then hit play and try the A key and the D key, the A key and the D key. Run it. Once you've gotten it to work, I want you to raise your hand. If it's working for you, raise your hand. Good. Champ Gamer, it's working. Ahana, is it working for you? Rayansh, yeah, 2 hands raised. Awesome, good. The A key should move it left and the D key should move it right. Now, if you guys have a phone, you can also run it on a phone, and that we can show you another time. Really nice to see you guys' hands raised. You can put your hands down. All right. Now I want to show you guys what you can make with this same concept. Okay. Check this one out. You guys see my screen. This is the same game, but with little more coding. So I'm going to hit the run script button. You can see that a proper video game appears. Have you guys played this game? In the mall, in an arcade, you move your spaceship and you have bullets. Have you guys played this? It's a proper shooting game. When I fire those guys, my score is increasing. Look at that. You have already started to build this game because the code that we wrote today, I'll reset this. The code that we wrote today, it achieved the most important part of this game, which is how do you handle the motion of things? You learned today, how do you move things left? How do you move things right? How you move your spaceship? And in fact, if you look at this game, even by design, it's almost like this other game, right? The difference is you have to add enemies and you can add score, and it's a 3D game, right? Once again, to demonstrate, I'll actually demonstrate in front of your parents. So everyone call your parents. I'd like to talk to your parents about what we have done today. So parents who are here with us in this session, nice to meet you. My name is Anshul. I happen to be the founder of this company called Camp K12. I started coding at a young age when I was in school, and I've been coding ever since. Every now and then I like to hold these webinars where I personally interact with kids. For me, this is the reason I do what I do. And I want to just take a moment and show you what your children learned in the last, I think 30 to 40 minutes that we have spent together. So today I introduce kids to the act of creating a game in 3 dimensions, because I discovered at the start of the session that your children play games like Minecraft, Roblox, Among Us, Many of them play three-dimensional games where they run around with their characters and they're jumping and they're playing. And at this young age, when your child is between grades 4 to grades 7 to even grade 9, we had some grade 9 students here. When your child is at that age, I think the number one skill that you can give them as a parent, and I think the number one skill that a school can give a child, is the self-confidence to know that they can solve problems, that they can create at this young age. I think that we live in a world where society many times tells you that you have to wait for a long time until you can start your own company, until you can publish your own app to the Play Store. Society is structured like that, and the school curriculum is structured to focus much more on what you would call traditional mathematics and traditional exam preparation. But if you look at the world today rewards people who have skills, who do. And if you look at people who have created companies, they didn't seek permission from someone to create a company, right? They created it themselves. Mark Zuckerberg started coding websites when he was in middle school. Bill Gates started coding his own applications when he was leaving middle school, going to high school. And so the number one thing we like to do is provide young kids with that confidence that they are not too young to be able to create their own solutions. And so I wanted to show them that they are not too young to make the kinds of 3D games that they play. Because if you can show a child at this age that, look, if you're playing Mario, you can actually make one. If you're playing Roblox, you can actually make Roblox. Then you give that child the best gift that you can possibly give, which is that gift of empowerment and curiosity. And it's something I experienced as a kid just by finding books in the library and getting addicted. I spent about 4 hours a day outside of my schoolwork coding. I'll tell you a little bit about myself later, but I want to show you what they made today. They made a 3D scene with a spaceship with a starry sky and a ground. And they wrote some code using a programming language called JavaScript, which is the universal programming language of the internet. So we taught them a programming language called JavaScript. And my focus was to teach them two concepts in programming. Number one is the concept of a basic command, like changing the position of a spaceship in three-dimensional space along the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. And the second concept I taught them was what you call conditional statements, if statements. This is ultimately an algebra concept. It's ultimately a math concept to figure out whether something is true or false, a logic concept. If something is true, then do something. If something else is true, then do something else. And we use that concept to make the spaceship move left and right. And your kids will be able to show you a demo on their side. We made it so that if the A key is pressed on the keyboard, the spaceship moves left. If the D key is pressed on the keyboard, the spaceship moves to the right. And then I showed them that the same concept can be applied to build much more advanced games in the same platform we did today. Here's an example of a proper three-dimensional game where you have a spaceship in 3D, you have bullets flying, you can look around, a proper 3D game. And now your children understand how to do things like moving things in three-dimensional space, how to detect if something is true and then respond to that with another command for the computer. And all of this using one of the most valuable programming languages to learn today, which is the language of JavaScript. I'm actually going to share a few slides with parents who are here because I want you to know that what we did today is the ethos of what we do at Camp K-12, and that this is something that is just a beginning, and your children have a long future in creative creation and coding if they want to. And so I'm just going to take a moment and introduce Camp K-12 and introduce myself as well. Camp K-12 has been teaching kids to code for over 10 years. And in fact, it's been 11 years now. We recently celebrated that anniversary in March. And we've worked with hundreds of thousands of kids across the globe. And literally before the app economy started in India, we were teaching kids to code. In the same way, it's something that I used to do as a kid. And so I shared this with others. My background is I studied computer science at MIT in Boston. I studied computer science undergraduate level and master's level, and that was at MIT. I've done an MBA at Harvard. I worked at big tech companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft, consulting companies like McKinsey. But ultimately, I felt like the best use of my skills at this point in time was to build an online school that allows kids to learn relevant skills in a really approachable way. And that's what we do at Camp K-12. Coding has really helped me. When I was in school, I used to build games exactly like the games I showed your kids today. And building games, when many people think that building games is a distraction, I think that parents, if you dig into it one level, building a game is entirely applied mathematics and applied physics. So if you look at the curricular system that we have in school and the kind of math you learn. These kids today have learned about x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, coordinate systems, arithmetic in a fun way. And game development is basically a fun way of learning mathematics, a fun way of learning physics, and many other STEM topics. And therefore, I think it actually helped me when I was going through my schooling in doing well in school. I also built a portfolio of games that I could share with my college admissions officer. So for those of you who are thinking about going to colleges abroad, those colleges care a lot about what you do in your life, not what your grades were. And that's why Bill Gates got into Harvard. That's why Mark Zuckerberg got into Harvard. I think that in my life, I was able to get into colleges like Harvard, Stanford, MIT when I finished school because I had built so many games. And I now try to share this with kids. That's why I'm here today. We started in 2010. These are photos from 2011, 2012. You can see that I'm here teaching these young kids to code. I took them to Google to see what kind of coding happens at Google. We've been doing this for a very long time. We've worked with tons of schools, pretty much any tier 1 school you can name in the big cities of India. Hundreds of schools we worked with doing coding workshops for students. We've worked with the government of India. We worked with Adobe, with Google, with IIT Delhi, IIM Bangalore on coding hackathons, joint certification programs. And I think the whole of India, whether it's the corporate sector or schools, they've recognized that because we've been doing this for so long. Today there are many companies that try to teach coding online, but we've been doing it for so long that quality is something we understand. And I wanted you as parents to know that Camp K12, while it does offer these workshops on the Facebook community for all of you to attend on a regular basis, completely free of cost, we do also create long-term learning paths for children. So for example, in the coding space, so this is just summarizing that we continue to do that same thing today, but we do it online. No matter where you are in the world, you can learn with us. We have a curriculum in coding for every child. So you guys here the kids are in grades 3, I think at the low end, grades 4 mostly, all the way to grade 7. And then with an exception, I think 1 or 2 kids in grade 9. We have a learning path that we create for every child once we get to understand the child. And our goal is to give them that self-confidence and that empowerment that I talked to you about, to show them that they can create. And we have done that with hundreds of thousands of kids, and we have mobile app development, artificial intelligence. What we did today, guys, is 3D coding. This is the one we did today, 3D coding. So you can learn 3D coding no matter how young you are. You can start with block-based programming, but then you can go on to JavaScript programming and make more advanced games like the one I showed you. We teach Python, we teach web development, game development. And I want parents to know that they can learn in 2 ways, that you guys, kids, who want to learn, raise your hand if you want to do more 3D game development. Raise your hand if you want to do more of what you saw today. Show me those hands. Rayansh, you want to? You don't have to, but there we go. I have a lot of you raising hands using the Zoom feature. So if you want to do more game development, there are 2 ways to learn it, guys. You can learn it with your friends in a small group class, so batches of 4, or you can learn it one-on-one, which is where we assign you a dedicated private tutor. And both have different benefits. So when you're learning one-on-one, the schedule is a lot more customizable. So if you think you might need to change the slots, time slots on any given day, and that personalization is really desired, flexibility is really desired, then the one-on-one classes is what people choose there. Learning in groups of 4 lets you learn with your friends. So you can build your own batch of friends, and the batch you build games with and learn with will actually compete with other batches and have a lot of collaborative projects as well. And so if you are open to kind of sticking with one time, then the learning with friends option can be a really good option. So there, you can put your hands down, guys. Sunitra is keeping her hand up. You can put it down. And so if you guys want to learn, there are 2 ways to learn. And the final point I'll say is, don't let this experience you just had start and stop with webinars like this. We will keep doing them. You learn a lot of coding just through these webinars, but that really, the difference comes when you have a guided curriculum and you start building projects that are thoughtfully aligned with your curriculum in school and that are building a portfolio for you of not just games, but mobile applications that you can publish on the Play Store all the way through. So you can talk to our team later and learn more about this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my teammate Daniel to share a link with you. If you would like to learn more about the one-on-one offering or the group class offering, Daniel, can you please share a link where people can just learn more about that?
Yes.
And yeah, I think now would be a good time. So parents that are here today, some of the kids are messaging me saying mom and dad are shopping, and that's great. Shopping is important too. When they come back, kids, if you are excited about sharing this with your parents, copy the link that is sent right here. You see the forms link. It's just been sent by my teammate. Camp K12 host A has sent a link to all of you. Just copy that link and share it with your parents later if they're out for shopping, or in any case they're not with you here. Okay, parents who are here, if you would like to learn more about the one-on-one learning options or the group class learning options, we have curriculum in artificial intelligence, in 3D game development like they did today, in web development, mobile app development for all age groups. Young kids start with visual block space programming, like the kind you do in MIT Scratch. Older students will graduate to languages like JavaScript and Python, and we've been doing this for over 10 years. So happy to just pause here and let you guys just do this form. If there are any questions that you'd like me to answer, you can just post the question on the chat thread, parents, and I'm happy to answer it. Otherwise, kids, you will definitely be seeing me again on one of these webinars, but I do hope to see you as a part of the coding community we have at Camp K12. It is something that has grown very quickly, and there are students all across the globe that are doing this, and we tend to give you a chance to collaborate with them. Some of you have seen our YouTube channel. Every Friday, one of the children from our community goes live on YouTube to teach game development and coding like I taught you today. You will be teaching to others on YouTube, and you can build your own YouTube reputation that way.